The Detroit Pistons season has come to an end just about a week ago. Another disappointing season, now with the worst record in franchise history. Obviously, changes are going to be needed to be made. Today, we're going to go through the season recap. We're going to start with the positives. We'll get into the negatives. We'll spend about 1 minute on each, and then we're going to go through everything the Pistons need to do during the offseason. This is going to include things like trades, free agency, draft, then front office changes, including stuff with the GM and owner. We're going to go through that, and we'll also go through a few other things as well. Let me know what you think of the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see the Pistons do when it comes to making changes this offseason. Let's start with a little season recap. We're going to go through some positives first. Obviously, we saw a bunch of players improve this season. We saw players like Cade, Ivy, Duren, and even guys like James Wiseman make big leaps, especially towards the end of the season. Obviously, you look at Cade Cunningham, he had 3 different stretches throughout the season where he was just balling. There was one stretch where he, I think, played 7 games, averaging close to 38 and 10 per game, shooting, close to, I think, like over 50% from 3. Like, he really found his rhythm. Then he got hurt, kind of lost that rhythm, got it back, and then he got hurt again towards the end of the year. So he definitely showed signs of him being the go-to guy that we can rely on. Now, his clutch gene, that is one thing that I didn't really see from him this year. That's the one thing that it seemed like he was missing, was fourth quarter. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is the biggest issue with him. I think he's a vegan, right? He's not getting these meats, and I think that that's going to affect his game, because when he's in the fourth quarter, you can tell he's dead tired. He looks like a zombie. He looks like he's like dying, and he runs out of gas. He'll start a game going, for 30 in the first half, and then he'll slow down the second half and will lose because he's unable to score in the fourth quarter because he loses that gas. It's not because he's a bad player. He doesn't have a clutch gene. It's because he's tired. Looking at Jaden Ivey, he definitely, got shafted first half of the season. Monty Williams decided to start killing over him. We all know that was probably the dumbest thing a coach could possibly do. Jaden Ivey gets the start. He ends up, kind of being a little inconsistent. And now, being a year 2 player, you'd expect that. Usually it takes 3-4 years for players to develop that kind of consistency. He had that stretch where he was shooting like 90% from 3, and it was like a 5-game stretch where he was averaging over 30 a game, and he was showing signs of being that go-to guy that you can rely on outside of Cade. I really like that from him. If he can continue to develop that next season, we can continue to see Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham play alongside each other and grow alongside each other and get better together. I really think we're going to have a dynamic duo in the backcourt. They looked really good together for about 50% of the games they played together this season. And then the other 50%, one was good, one was bad. So it's kind of nice, though, to have one you can rely on. But when you can have both on fire, that's when it's really good. So I really like seeing that. James Wiseman definitely showed a lot of improvements toward the end of the season. I was really impressed by him. He had a couple 20-point games. He had multiple double-doubles. I really think that he showed one of the biggest improvements, and an improvement we needed. He's a good guy that can come in off the bench, obviously. And then also, Duren, 5th in the league in rebounding, only 20 years old. He's continuing to get better at scoring. Love to see him develop more of a shot. He's going to be good going into year 3. We also have 2 great rookies in Ausar and Sasser. Ausar obviously had an unfortunate blood clot injury ending his season, but man, when he was getting minutes in the beginning of the year, he was a top 2 rookie in the league, and then he stopped getting minutes and they kind of stopped getting the usage. We need to give him that usage, let him go out, ball on defense, and then give him some opportunities on offense. He can play and make as well. He's a beast. Sasser, when given the opportunity as well, dog. The dude, once he heats up, is one of the best players on this team, probably the best scorer on this team when he's hot. He's one of those, they call him the microwave for a reason. He gets hot. You cannot stop this dude. He's one of the most exciting players to watch when he's hot. He's so fun to watch. We had some new players like Fontecchio and Malachi Flynn, who were pretty good additions as well. I was happy to see them ball out for the little time they had with us. Now, some negatives. This was the worst season in franchise history. This was, we had the worst record in the NBA now for 2 straight years. We also had a 28-game losing streak, which tied the longest streak in NBA history. Those are not things that, are positives. Those are very big negatives. Like, not even like negatives. Those are big negatives that, wow, like that's where we're at right now with, the roster that we have. That roster should not be that bad. Cade, Ivey, Duren, Ausar, Sasser should not be that bad. But all in all, season's over now. It's on to the next season. Looking at next season, what are the changes that need to be made? Well, I think it's all going to start with the owner. I think I would like to see a new owner. Now, Tom Gores, you can't really force him, but they did hire, I think, a new president. I forget what it's called, but they do have the power to remove the owner, which is pretty cool. But again, am I willing to give it one more year? Sure. It's not like next year we're probably going to win it all anyway. You could get lucky, make a playoff run, or like not a playoff run, but like make it to like the play-in. I'm willing to give one more year if I see good changes from Tom Gores in this franchise, but I think we need a new owner. I'm, like I said, willing to give him one more year, but I'd like to see changes there. Monty Williams, the head coach, man, I was really excited when we got him. I remember I made a video talking about how he could literally take us to where we want to go within 5 years. Now, I don't know if he'll ever be able to take us there, but the thing is you got to remember one thing. Monty Williams' first year with the Phoenix Suns, they won 17 games. His second year with them, they won 34. His third year, they won 41. And they just kept getting better and better. So I think that you give him one more year and you see a lot of changes and just better coaching. He's got to this is the youngest team he's ever coached by far. He's got to get used to it. It's not going to be great. If he can kind of get more used to it, develop more throughout the offseason with these guys, I think that you could see a lot of changes, and I think you could see him be a lot better. But honestly, I'm saying give it to maybe All-Star break at latest, maybe even halfway through the year once you hit game 42 or 41. If you're not liking what you're seeing, just get rid of him, just fire him. Otherwise, give it to All-Star break and see what happens. Troy Weaver, the GM. Look, Troy Weaver has done, as much as people like to hate on him, he's done a lot of good things for us. He's got us Cade Cunningham. I think that was the obvious pick. He got us Jaden Ivey. I think that was the obvious pick. But then he goes out and he gets a guy like a Sar Thompson. I didn't want a Sar Thompson. Guess what? He went out and got him, and he was 10 times better than any other guy I would have wanted. He went out and got Sasser. He went out and traded and got Duren. He's also, missed on a lot of picks like Killian Hayes, the second rounder from what's his name from a couple years ago. He was like a guy from across seas, and he never came over, and he never Perkaida, I think his name was like Gabriel Perkaida, but he never even played for us. So he's done some great things. He's also brought in Fontecchio. He's brought in a couple guys like Burks, Bojan. He's also made a couple mistakes, like not trading Bojan for 2 first-round picks. Would have been nice. That's probably one of the worst mistakes the GM could have possibly made. I would like to give Weaver one more year. I still have a little bit of faith in him. I know everyone else doesn't. I'm okay with giving him one more year to prove himself, but it's going to take a lot. I'm going to need to see some offseason moves. I'm going to need to see him get the right pick in the draft or do the right thing with that pick. If you get the number 1 pick, are you going to take Alex Sarr? Or are you going to trade that pick and get a guy like Maury Markkinen or someone that you could somehow trade for and make us better? He's going to have a lot to do. He's done some good things for us, but he's also done a lot of bad for us. So I'm willing to give him one more year, but I'm also willing to do this. Weaver has done what he needed to do in the draft. Now is it time to get a GM that can build in free agency and trades and know what he's doing there and continue to build the roster around the guys we have? Or should we give Weaver another chance to see what happens? I'm kind of moving on to, I'd like to see a new GM that can continue finishing the roster. Weaver got started. Let's see it get finished. What do the Pistons need to do this offseason when it comes to the draft? Obviously, a lot of things coming up when free agency, the draft, trades that you can make to get this team better. Looking at the draft, there's really only one player. This is probably the weakest draft class I've ever seen in my life. There's no players that I'm like, okay, this is a guy we could get. There's one player that if we got could make us into a very, very good team, and that's Alex Sarr. He's not from this country. He's out in I think the Australian or Europe leagues. I forget. He's 7'1", insane defender, and he's like a Victor Wembanyama, probably not as good offensively. He's not able to shoot threes quite as well. I think he only shoots like 33% from 3, but he's getting better at that. But he's able to create for himself in ways that Victor Wembanyama does. He's not 7'5", but he's damn close to it. 7'1" is very tall. And he is, I think, the missing piece. You look at what we need on this team right now. You have a Sarr who's more of a defender. He's developing a shot. You have Ivy who can score from anywhere. You have Cade who can score from anywhere. Duren, not much of a shooter. So you need one more scorer. And whether he plays the 5 or 4, Sarr can be that guy. He can shoot threes. He can run the floor. He can be a lob threat. And he can defend. And he can dribble. He's like a guard, basically. That's why I compare him to Victor Wembanyama, just not as tall. Not quite as good as shooting from the 3-point line. But Alex Sarr, I think, has got to be our number 1 target in the draft. If you can't get him, there's no one else that I want to see us get. I think you could either trade down maybe 10, 15 picks, maybe try and get a guy there, plus you get extra capital, or completely just straight up trade that first round pick, get a guy like Lauri Markkanen, or I don't know, like Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know, probably not. Maybe someone that you can actually trade for that can come in, be our number 4 or 5, and be an offensive threat and be able to help Cade and Ivy out a ton. Like I said, if you can get Sarr at pick 1 through 3, which I don't think he's gonna last, 3 or later, maybe he could last at 3. But if you can get Alex Sarr, get him. Otherwise, trade that pick for a player or trade down and get more capital if you have to. Free agent targets. Who do the Pistons need to go after? I'll tell you one thing. You draft Bronny James, you can get LeBron James. And if LeBron James wants to prove his legacy, come to Detroit, win us a championship. Now, but being for real, though, obviously probably really unrealistic. Now, I don't know how unrealistic that is because you drafted Bronny. I'm sure LeBron's going to come here because LeBron's going to go wherever Bronny goes. So if you draft him, guess what? LeBron's probably going to come here. Now, that's not for certain, obviously, and I'm not saying the Pistons are going to draft him because Bronny James isn't really he's more of a developmental guy. I don't see him really ever being a starter. Maybe he can start, down the future. He's not like dominant guy in college. Obviously he had the cardiac arrest. Glad he's okay. Hoping that he's able to fully recover from that. He had a minutes restriction at USC. Hoping that he's able to become something in the NBA because that would be fun to watch. But if you were able to get LeBron, there you go. Now, being a little more realistic because obviously we're probably not going to get LeBron. Tobias Harris is a guy who has been a target for a while now. Go get him, and I think you can get yourself a versatile 3/4. I think he plays the 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think he can play the 4 as well. He's just a great scorer. Pascal Siakam, I think this is probably my number 1 target because I watched him play in that game against the Raptors that we broke the 28-game losing streak with. He was tearing us up out there. It was pretty ugly to watch because we could not stop him. He's just an insane scorer, pretty good shooter. I think he can shoot from 3 pretty well as well. And I think he'd be a great guy to have down at that 4 spot. DeMar DeRozan's another guy who can play like the 3 or 4, I think. More of a 3, I think. But he is a great scorer, clutch. And I think he has like the most clutch points in the league, actually. I think he missed a shot. Like, it wasn't in the play-in tournament. It was against like the Knicks to like win the game with like 2 seconds left last game of the year. It's like, who cares? Like, you were missing that Zach LaVine and like every other player that you needed, so it's not like it mattered. But DeRozan could be a guy that could come in and be a guy that could help us score and just lift up that offensive capabilities. Which is what we need. So, Sarr continue to develop, Duren continue to develop. That's what we need as well. That's going to do it. Like I said earlier, let me know down in the comments what changes do the Detroit Pistons need to make. GM, coach, owner. What do they need to do in the draft and what do they need to do via trade and free agency? So let me know down in the comments what you guys think, what you thought of the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.